Welcome back. Today, we are talking about a disease. And I don't mean the kind that puts you in a hospital. I mean the kind that quietly drains your bank account, destroys your peace of mind, and leaves you working a job you hate for 40 years just to afford things you didn't actually need. This disease has a name. It's called keeping up with the Joneses. And it is, without exaggeration, the single greatest destroyer of personal wealth in America. Not market crashes, not bad investments, not bad luck. This right here. So what does keeping up with the Joneses actually mean? It means that in our culture, status is not measured by how you feel on the inside. It's measured by what other people can see on the outside. If your neighbors can't see it, it doesn't exist. If your coworkers can't see it, it doesn't count. Your wealth, your success, your worth as a person in modern American consumer culture is almost entirely a visual performance, and that is a deeply, deeply expensive way to live. Think about how we actually measure success in this country. We don't ask, is he financially free? We ask, did you see the new truck he pulled up in? We don't say, she must be doing well. She seems really happy and unstressed. We say, she must be doing well. Did you see that kitchen renovation? The metrics we use are all physical, all external, all visible. And here's where I want to introduce what I call the hedonic treadmill. Picture a treadmill, a physical one, at the gym. Now picture yourself running on it. You're working hard, sweating, putting in real effort, and you're going absolutely nowhere. You are physically moving, but your position in the room never changes. That is exactly what happens when you try to buy your way to happiness and status. Every time you buy something to feel better, a new car, a bigger house, a newer phone, a fancier watch, there is a brief moment of satisfaction. A week, maybe a month, and then something happens. Your brain normalizes it. The new car stops feeling new, the bigger house just becomes your house, the watch on your wrist disappears from your own awareness, and the treadmill speeds up. Now you need something bigger, something newer, something more impressive, just to feel the same way you felt before. You are running as fast as you possibly can, and you are getting nowhere. The treadmill is winning. And the worst part?
Hey!
The
What do you
people
think you're
selling
doing
you
with
the
that
things
dial?
you're buying,
I'm increasing the
they
speed. We
designed
need to
it
move
this
faster.
way.
Faster?
They want
That's
the
too
treadmill
risky.
to
You'll
speed
overload
up.
the system.
That is the
It's under
entire
control.
business model. Planned dissatisfaction. Engineered envy. So today, we are going to break this thing down completely. The psychology, the math, the trap, and the exit. Let's get into it. Let's start with one of the sneakiest ways this disease spreads. I call it the neighborhood trap, and it gets almost everyone at some point in their life. Here's how it works. You get a raise at work. Good for you, genuinely. You worked hard, you earned it. And maybe you've been living in a modest neighborhood, a decent apartment or a starter home. But now you've got more money coming in, so you think, logically, I should upgrade my living situation. That makes sense on the surface, so you move to a nicer neighborhood. And the moment you do that, something happens to your brain that you did not anticipate and that nobody warned you about. Your baseline resets. What does that mean? It means the thing that your brain uses as a reference point, the thing it compares everything else to, just shifted. Before, you lived in a neighborhood where most people drove 5-year-old, perfectly functional, paid-off cars. Maybe you had a 2019 Honda Accord. It ran great, it got you everywhere you needed to go. In your old neighborhood, that car looked just fine. It was normal. It fit. Now you've moved, and in your new driveway, next to your neighbor's brand new Tesla Model S and the other neighbor's lifted Ram 1500 with the custom rims, that perfectly fine Honda Accord, the one that runs great, that you own free and clear, that has never let you down, suddenly looks like a piece of junk. Nothing about the car changed, not one single thing. The car is exactly the same car it was 30 days ago, but your reference point changed, your neighborhood changed, and now, through no fault of your own, you feel behind, you feel inadequate. You feel like your car is saying something about you that you don't want it to say. And this is the trap, because it's not just the car.
When you moved to that nicer neighborhood, you didn't just upgrade your house, you unknowingly upgraded your entire reference group. The people around you now dress differently, they vacation differently, their kids go to different activities. They talk about renovating their kitchen, not repainting it. And over time, gradually, almost invisibly, your sense of what is normal and acceptable drifts upward to match the people around you. This is not a character flaw. This is deeply wired human psychology. For hundreds of thousands of years, understanding where you stood relative to your social group was a survival mechanism. Being cast out from the group was a death sentence. So your brain evolved to be acutely aware of your social position. It monitors it constantly, and when it perceives a gap, when it sees that you have less than the people around you, it sends you a very uncomfortable signal. That signal is what the people selling things are counting on. Move to a new neighborhood, and within 12 to 18 months, most people have found a way to expand their lifestyle to match. A new car, a new wardrobe, a kitchen remodel, a backyard project. The raise got completely absorbed, not by savings, not by freedom, but by the new baseline the neighborhood created. You didn't just move houses, you moved to a more expensive version of the same treadmill.
Now I want to talk about the actual psychological engine behind status purchases, because once you see this, you can never unsee it, and it will change the way you look at luxury items forever. There's a concept I want to walk you through.
I'll call it the man in the car paradox. Here's the setup. Imagine you're standing on a sidewalk in a city and a bright red Ferrari rolls by. A beautiful car, loud engine, people turn their heads. Now, and I want you to be honest with yourself here, what are you actually thinking in that moment? Are you thinking, wow, the person driving that car must be really impressive and cool? Or are you thinking something slightly different? The answer, if you are honest, is that you are probably not thinking about the driver at all. You're thinking about the car. And more specifically, you are imagining what it would feel like if you were driving it. You are picturing yourself behind the wheel. You are imagining what people would think if they saw you in it. The driver is essentially invisible to you. The driver is irrelevant. The driver is just the mechanism by which the car got to your block. Now flip that around, because this is the part that should stop every single person who has ever bought something expensive to get respect. Every person who sees you driving an expensive car is doing the exact same thing that you just did to the Ferrari driver. They are not thinking, wow, that person is impressive. They're thinking, wow, I wonder what it would feel like to drive that. You are functionally invisible. You are the delivery mechanism for the object. The object is the star. You are not. This is the paradox. The entire reason people buy luxury vehicles, designer clothes, massive watches, and all the rest of it is to earn the admiration and respect of other people, to feel seen, to feel successful. But the people seeing them are not registering them as a successful person. They are registering the object and inserting themselves into the fantasy. The person wearing the Rolex wanted you to think they were interesting. What you actually thought was, I wonder if I could pull off a Rolex. You are spending money you may not have on things you may not be able to afford to impress people who are not actually thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves. And this is not a criticism of people who buy expensive things because they genuinely love them and can easily afford them. That's a completely different situation. This is specifically about the purchase motivated by what others will think, because the psychological return on that purchase, the actual respect and admiration you are hoping to receive, simply does not arrive in the form you expected. It never does. You bought the trophy, but there was no ceremony. Okay, I want to get into some actual math here, because I think when you see the numbers written out plainly, it becomes really hard to argue with the logic. Let's take a common scenario, a car, specifically a $60,000 truck or SUV. This is not an unusual purchase in America. There are entire neighborhoods where this is considered a totally standard middle-class vehicle choice. Most people financing a $60,000 vehicle today are doing it on a 7-year loan because the monthly payment on a shorter loan is simply too high to swallow. So you stretch it out. At a current average interest rate of somewhere around 7% on a new auto loan, your monthly payment is going to be around $930 a month, every month, for 84 months. Let's do the full math. $930 times 84 months equals roughly $78,000 in total payments. For a $60,000 vehicle, you paid $18,000 in pure interest. $18,000 that built you nothing, earned you nothing, and bought you nothing but the privilege of being in debt. Now here's the part that makes it even worse. A new vehicle loses somewhere between 15 and 25% of its value in the first year alone, just sitting there, just existing. By the time you have driven it off the lot and through the first 12 months, that $60,000 truck is worth maybe $48,000. You haven't paid it off anywhere close to that by the end of year one, which means you are already upside down. You owe more than it's worth. By the end of the 7-year loan, the truck that cost $60,000 is worth, conservatively, around $15,000 to $20,000. You paid $78,000 total, and what you own at the end of it is worth $18,000. That is a $60,000 loss in real wealth over 7 years. And what were you buying with that $60,000? You were buying a trophy, a large, depreciating, very expensive trophy that sits in your driveway and signals to your neighbors, who, as we just discussed, are not really thinking about you, that you are doing well. Let me make this even more concrete. That $930 a month, that is real money. That is hours of your life. If you earn $20 an hour, that is 46.5 hours of your labor every single month, literally more than a full work week going directly to a piece of metal that is losing value every single day it exists. So why do we do it? Why do we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even particularly like? Because the culture told us that this is what success looks like. Because the person in the commercial who drove the truck looked happy and confident and admired. Because our brain, which evolved to monitor social status, has been hijacked by an advertising industry that spends billions of dollars every year studying exactly how to trigger that insecurity and funnel it toward a purchase. It is not stupidity. It is not weakness. It is an extremely sophisticated psychological operation being run on all of us all the time. And the first line of defense against it is simply understanding what is happening.
Let me describe two people, and I want you to think about which one you'd rather actually be, not which one looks more impressive, but which one you'd actually want to trade lives with. Person A has a massive house in a nice neighborhood. He's got a brand new truck in the driveway, a second car for his wife, a boat sitting on a trailer on the side of the house, and he just finished a full kitchen renovation. From the outside, this man looks incredibly successful. He looks like he's made it. He's the guy the neighborhood talks about. Person A also has a mortgage he's stretched thin on, a car payment, a second car payment, a boat loan, a home equity line of credit he used for the renovation, and a credit card balance he's been carrying for 2 years. He has about $800 in a savings account. He has not contributed to retirement in 18 months because things are a little tight. If he misses one paycheck, just one, he is in serious trouble. If the economy turns and he loses his job, he has maybe 3 weeks before everything starts collapsing. Person A is what I call fake rich. He has all the symbols of wealth and almost none of the substance. He is performing success. He is on the treadmill at maximum speed. Now, Person B. Person B drives a 10-year-old Toyota Camry that runs perfectly. He lives in a modest house that he could afford without stretching. He doesn't have a boat. His kitchen is fine. His clothes are normal. To the neighborhood, he looks pretty unremarkable, maybe even a little boring. Person B also has no car payment, no boat loan, no home equity line of credit, and no credit card balance. He has 8 months of living expenses sitting in a savings account. He has been maxing out his retirement contributions for 12 years. He has investments that are quietly growing. He has options. If he loses his job, he is fine for the better part of a year. If he wants to take 6 months off and travel, he can. If a health emergency hits, he can handle it without it becoming a financial crisis. Person B is what I call real rich, not because of what he shows,
because of what he has. Real wealth is fundamentally invisible. This is the paradox that the consumer culture doesn't want you to understand. Real wealth is not the cars purchased, it is the cars not purchased. It is not the diamond bracelet bought, it is the diamond bracelet not bought. It is not the renovation done, it is the renovation delayed. Wealth is the options and the freedom that unspent money gives you. Wealth is the ability to say, I don't feel like working today, and have it mean something. Wealth is the space between your income and your expenses, and that space is created entirely by the things you chose not to buy. But here's the cruel irony of the system we live in. Person A gets the social admiration, person A gets the neighborhood respect, person A is the one people say, he must really be doing well, and person B is invisible, which means the social rewards flow directly to the behavior that destroys wealth, and the behavior that builds wealth goes completely unacknowledged. The game is rigged. We'll get to how you win it in a minute.
So here's where we talk about the solution. And I want to be honest with you. It's not a complicated solution. It doesn't require you to learn anything technical or difficult. But it does require a genuine shift in your perspective. Because you've been trained your whole life to think about wealth the wrong way. The concept is called stealth wealth. And the idea is exactly what it sounds like. You become the invisible millionaire. You accumulate real wealth quietly, without broadcasting it, without performing it, without using your purchasing power to signal your status to people around you. This sounds simple, but for a person who has been marinating in consumer culture their entire life, it is actually a radical act, because it requires you to fully internalize one idea. What other people think about your possessions is not worth paying for. Let me tell you about the psychological freedom that comes with this. When you stop trying to look wealthy, something changes. The social pressure that you have been carrying, most of it without even realizing it, starts to lift. You are no longer running a performance. You are no longer doing math in your head at the car dealership to figure out how much truck you can squeeze into a monthly payment. You are no longer looking over your fence, wondering whether your neighbor's new deck makes your yard look inadequate. You stepped off the treadmill, and suddenly you notice that the room is just a room. It's not a race. You can just stand in it, still, and be completely fine. The stealth wealth mindset also does something else. It removes the target from your back. When you drive an ordinary car, live in a modest house, and wear plain clothes, you do not attract the financial and social dynamics that come with visible wealth. You don't attract people who want things from you. You don't attract the subtle one-upsmanship and social scorekeeping that runs quietly under the surface of neighborhoods and friend groups where everyone is competing. You become invisible to that game entirely. And invisible to that game means you are free of it. Think about what it actually feels like to drive a reliable, paid-off 10-year-old car. Not an embarrassing car, just a normal, well-maintained, totally adequate car that you own free and clear. Every single mile you drive that car, you owe nothing to nobody. There is no bill coming at the end of the month for this. The bank has no claim on this vehicle. This car is yours. Compare that to driving a brand new $60,000 truck that you're financing. Every mile in that truck, there is a quiet, low-level stress running in the background because you know the payment is coming, and the month after that, and for 84 months. That stress is not dramatic, it does not feel acute, but it is there, constantly, like a very soft noise you stopped noticing, but that never actually stopped. The paid-off ordinary car is quieter than you realize, not just on the road, in your head. Stealth wealth is not about being cheap. It is not about deprivation. It is not about refusing to enjoy your money or live your life. It is about being completely intentional and clear-eyed about what you are actually buying when you spend money. Are you buying something because it genuinely improves your life and you can genuinely afford it? Or are you buying it because of the story it tells other people? Because those are two completely different transactions. One of them makes sense.
One is paying a premium for an audience that isn't paying attention.
We are almost done, but I want to end on the most important concept in this entire video. Because everything I've talked about, the treadmill, the neighborhood trap, the paradox, the fake rich versus real rich, all of it is just the problem. This is the solution. The only way to genuinely win the game against the Joneses is to understand that the game itself is rigged. And once you truly understand that, the obvious answer is to stop playing. But just stop caring what people think is not actual advice. It doesn't work. You can't just flip a switch and stop being a social animal with an evolutionary drive to monitor your status within a group. That is not how the brain works. What does work is something more specific. You need to define your own concept of enough, not the culture's concept, not your neighborhood's concept, not the concept in the car commercial, your concept. Your personal, deliberate, thought-through definition of what a good life actually looks like for you. Here is what I mean. Most people walk through life with an indefinite, ever-expanding idea of what they want. More money, a nicer car, a bigger house, a better vacation. It's always more, and the more never has an address. It never arrives anywhere. It just keeps moving forward, pulling you along behind it. But what happens when you sit down? Genuinely sit down away from advertisements and social media and neighborhood pressure and actually ask yourself, what is actually enough for me? Not for the person I want to appear to be, not for the version of myself that wants to impress people at a class reunion, for the actual me. What does my actual good life look like? For most people, when they do this exercise honestly, the number is smaller than they expected. The life is quieter than they expected. Because most of what we think we want is actually just the cultural programming talking. It is the treadmill telling us we need to run faster. And when you separate that noise from your actual preferences, what you actually want turns out to be pretty manageable. When you have a clear, defined concept of enough, when you know specifically what your floor and your ceiling are, something powerful happens. Your neighbor buying a new boat becomes completely irrelevant information. It does not register as a signal that you are behind. It is just a fact about your neighbor, the same way it's a fact that he has brown hair. It doesn't concern you. It doesn't trigger anything, because you are not running his race. You are running a completely different race, one with a finish line, and that finish line is freedom, whatever that specifically means to you. Time, options, security, the ability to choose your own days. Real freedom is built quietly, in the gap between what you earn and what you spend. And the Joneses, with their beautiful, expensive, highly leveraged lifestyle, will never, ever build it. You don't need to beat them. You don't need to judge them. You just need to clearly understand that their scoreboard and your scoreboard are measuring completely different things. Their scoreboard says who has the most visible stuff. Your scoreboard says who has the most actual freedom. Pick your scoreboard, then play that game with everything you've got. I'm Dollar Dave. Step off the treadmill, define your enough, and go do whatever you want.